Hey guys, this is Raven with the Regal Reptile, and today for Fast Facts Friday I thought that we'd cover another gecko, but not a leopard gecko. This time we can cover a crested gecko. Look at it. They're called crested geckos because of the crests over their eyes and on their heads, and they're just really adorable. I love crested geckos. They have some similarities and some differences between the leopard gecko. So without further ado, let's talk about the differences between the crested gecko and the leopard gecko. Unlike leopard geckos, crested geckos don't have claws like the leopard gecko. They have these little toe pads that help them stick to things like glass and wood and everything and the ceiling. And it is so cool. You'd think that their little toe pads would actually feel sticky, but they don't, because it's not a glue that sticks them to things. It's very itty-bitty tiny microscopic hairs on the folds of their feet pads that molecularly bind to the object that they're standing on or they're trying to climb. These invisible forces of nature that help the gecko climb up walls and pretty much anything are called van der Waals forces. And they are so strong that the crested gecko actually has to peel its little feet backwards in order to unstick them from things, and that just blows my mind. Another really cool thing is their tail has a tiny tail pad too with these little hairs, and so they actually have 5 little climby bits rather than just 4 climby bits, and their tail is also prehensile. Super cool. Another difference between the crested gecko and the leopard gecko is that, unlike living in the desert, the crested gecko lives on the tropical island of New Caledonia. There's actually a whole lot of species of geckos that only live on this island, and they are all amazing climbers with their little toe pads. They're so cool. Another difference is that while the crested gecko can totally eat insects, they really like to eat fruits, especially mangoes and tropical fruits. So they are an omnivore, unlike an obligate insectivore or a carnivore. Super cool. I love them. They also look pretty different too. I mean, check them out. So we could talk about some similarities because we're about to talk about eyes. Just like the leopard gecko, the crested gecko has cat eyes, or vertical pupils, because they are also nocturnal and do all their hunting at night, and they sleep during the day. They are not ground lizards like the leopard gecko, but they do climb on trees. They love to use their feet pads to do that. Also, like the leopard gecko, the crested gecko can drop this gorgeous little tail of theirs in order to escape predators. Unlike the leopard gecko, the crested gecko doesn't store fat or energy or anything inside of its tail, so it likes to eat all the time. And living in the tropics, it can afford to do so. Also, unlike the leopard gecko, the crested gecko can never grow back its tail, and so ends up looking like this guy. And to me, they kind of look like frogs when they lose their tail. I don't know why. Both geckos make very good pet lizards, but the crested gecko may require a little bit more maintenance because you have to mist them and keep them humid because they live in the tropics and not the desert. Just like the leopard gecko, they are small enough to have a nice, simple cage size and big enough to be handleable, and they're very fun to handle. So, they also come in a couple of color morphs. And if you're thinking about getting a crested gecko, always do your research first, and then go get yourself a nice floppy friend. I'd like to thank Echoes of Nature for allowing me to use their crested geckos in this video. Echoes of Nature is a nonprofit organization dedicated to using animal ambassadors to show everybody how awesome nature is. We take animals from the wild that have been injured and can no longer return to the wild, and even unwanted pets, and they become our animal ambassadors, which we take to schools, assisted living facilities, and even birthday parties. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and are considering maybe looking into crested geckos even more. Maybe one day I will have a crested gecko in the Regal Reptile collection. If you guys would like to support the channel, you can hit the like button and you can share this video with your friends who also probably like lizards because lizards are amazing. And tell them how cool leopard geckos and crested geckos are. You can also subscribe to the channel and join our Regal family. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'm getting the likes and unlikes kind of mixed up a little bit, but everything I've said is correct so far. Also, like the leopard gecko, the crested gecko can drop this magnificent tail. Are you pooping again? You are, aren't you? Yes. Go on, let it out. Get it going. Gorgeous. Yes.